Beautiful morning, and it's an exciting day to be celebrating the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act into law. 2 years ago, people came together to get something done that had been talked about forever, and I am so proud of the fact that under the leadership of President Joe Biden and the leaders in the House and Senate, Democratic leaders reaching across the aisle, we got this done. And now American communities are rebuilding their roads and bridges, expanding access to high-speed internet in rural communities as well as our big cities, and improving airports, and so much more, on and on and on. Let me tell you what this means for our country. 135,000 miles of roads are being improved. That would get you almost halfway to the moon, to put it in perspective.
Then what do we do?
I don't know. Then you got to turn around, come back. I don't know. That's a really good question. All right. 7,800 bridges are being repaired. 445 port and waterway projects are being funded. 7 world-class regional clean hydrogen hubs are being launched, including one in Michigan that I'm so excited about. 1,200 communities will see drinking water and wastewater projects. 21 million families are getting access to free or reduced high-speed internet, which is fundamentally changing the opportunity for children, for those families, and it's exciting. And thousands more students will have a clean and efficient ride to school aboard more than 2,200 electric school buses like the one right here that we're here to celebrate today. These investments aren't just improving lives in communities. They're creating millions of good-paying jobs, boosting American manufacturing, growing our middle class. House Republicans are trying to slash funding that will take away funds, transportation being less safe or less reliable and less convenient if those cuts happened. But meanwhile, Democrats are celebrating, breaking ground, thousands of projects that will improve people's lives. Democrats are delivering for American families and communities, and we are proud to be here celebrating today. And I want to turn it over to the leader of the band here, the leader of the group, our great leader, Senator Chuck Schumer.
And this leader of the band is not tired. Remember John Cougar Mellencamp? I actually, at my mentor, a man who passed away 20 years ago, I read that song at his funeral because he was the leader of the band for me. Anyway, it's great to be here. I want to thank Senator Stabenow, our great DPCC chair, for bringing us here together, and Senators Carper, Hassan, Cortez Masto, and Hickenlooper for being here today. I want to thank Mom's Clean Air Force. Yay! For being here, and First Student for this state-of-the-art electric school bus.
Yes.
Look how nice it looks. It looks just like a regular bus, but it's clean. It's both yellow and green. It's I was singing the song away on I Came Over Here. Remember the song, The Magic Bus?
Yes.
Pete Townsend wrote it. Pete Townsend.
No, don't get him started.
The Magic Bus. Okay. Happy holidays to one and all. I also want to thank my good friend Kevin McGowan from Rochester. He's superintendent of the Brighton Central School District. Brighton is a great school district in the suburbs of Rochester. And when I visited Rochester, I pointed out that my cousins grew up in Brighton and went to school there. Wow. Now, we're here today because 2 years ago, after decades of promise from Congress to pass a bill that would bring our country's infrastructure in the 21st century, we finally did it. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or it is now known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. I'd like to know who changed the name. I like the first name better. It was not me, let me tell you. It ain't me, babe. To keep the song Bob Dylan. Go lightly from the ledge, babe. Carper and I like song lyrics. Anyway, the bipartisan infrastructure law is historic legislation. That's just 2 years in the making. It's already making every one of our states. We see the impact almost on a weekly basis of new infrastructure, upgrading our infrastructure, bringing us in to this new century. The bill invests in critical projects. We're seeing our bridges fixed, and we're building new bridges. We're improving our airports. I've seen that here in my city of New York and around my state. We're expanding broadband so that millions who never had broadband, a necessity in the 21st century, as electricity was a necessity in the 20th, are getting it. We're bolstering transportation, including for electric buses for school kids, just like the one behind us, and all of it with good paying union jobs. And our existing union workers are doing well, but there are many more new workers being brought into these union apprenticeship programs and getting good paying jobs for the first time in their family's history. As majority leader, I was proud to lead this law into passage. But as the senior senator from New York, I've also worked hard to bring back investment to rebuild our state of New York. So I want to take a minute to talk about the impact the infrastructure law is actually having on New York. In New York City, we are in an infrastructure renaissance. From the Gateway Tunnel project to East Side access to Penn Station access to the 2nd Avenue subway, the infrastructure law has meant billions, that's with a B, for New York City to move full steam ahead. We depend on mass transit, and we're building so much of it in New York. We have from 25 to 33% of the mass transit riders in the country. But it's not just true in New York City or the metropolitan area, Long Island, Westchester, etc. It's around the whole state. New York State will receive $670 million to expand high-speed internet across the Empire State, closing the digital divide for thousands of families from rural towns to big cities, giving people access to get better jobs, better health care, better education. Broadband's a necessity, and we've treated it like one for the first time in decades by helping both people in rural areas and poor people who can't afford it get broadband. And as I mentioned, because the Buy America provisions we fought to include in the law, all of us here did, good paying jobs are going to be created in building the infrastructure. This is one of the largest federal investments ever in water infrastructure, aimed at eliminating lead pipes, lead service pipes, which have done such damage and injury to our great kids. New York has over 360,000 lead pipes still delivering water to homes. That's the 4th highest in the nation. In Rochester, we've been battling lead pollution for decades. It was projected it would take until 2050 to replace these lead service lines. That means 2 more generations of children getting this lead in their systems. Now we are going to replace them by 2030, a huge change for the health of our kids. And of course, we've made major investments in school buses. Under the EPA Clean School Bus Program, school districts across New York will get $50 million to purchase 150 new electric buses. So, and thanks to these buses, we're going to say goodbye to diesel exhaust polluting our environment. Our children can go to school, play in neighborhoods without breathing in toxic chemicals. So thanks to these historic buses, the wheels of the new electric bus go round and round and round all over America, keeping emissions and pollution going down, down, down. And Senate Democrats can continue delivering on our promise for a brighter future, more good-paying jobs for our communities. So I thank my colleagues for being here. I thank our great groups for being here, Mom's Air Force and so many of the other groups who are here. And hey, we'd like to do more of this. And if we keep the majority in the Senate and get one in the House, we will. Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Chuck. Sorry, it took a while. No, that's okay.
That was great.
That's okay.
Great. Thanks for coming down. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Keep flying.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, now I'm going to introduce our leader, the chairman of the Environment and Public Works Committee, Senator Carper, who will then introduce our other colleagues, and then I'll be happy to introduce our additional two guests that are with us. So, Senator Carper, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Nice hand for Debbie. Go ahead, put them together. Come on. Thank you. Please remain standing. I'm going to follow up, Chuck, with a little bit more music. When I was 18 years old, I was a midshipman at Ohio State, went to Newport, Rhode Island to join my destroyer. A bunch of us midshipmen were going to go out and tame the oceans in the Atlantic. And we got there literally the day before the Newport Folk Festival. And the headliner that year was a guy named Bob Dylan. And Chuck just mentioned one of his names, one of his songs, It Ain't Me, Babe. And Bob Dylan that year played rock and roll. And nobody had ever played rock and roll at the Newport Folk Festival. He was booed off the stage. And people said, he's finished. He'll never amount to anything now. He went on to be, I think, the third or fourth best-selling recording artist in the history of music. There are people who said when we came up with the idea of addressing climate change, reducing climate change, addressing it, that we could do that in a lot of ways and create jobs at the same time. A lot of people were naysayers. You'll never do that. You will never do that. Well, we're here today to share we can do both, and it's important that we do both. We're delighted that you're all here. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your passion for this issue. Shortly after Joe Biden, in fact, 6 days I think after Joe Biden was inaugurated president, he called me on the phone, and he calls me Tommy. He said, "Tommy, I have a favor to ask." I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. President." He said, "Call me Joe." I said, "Yes, sir, Mr. President." He said, "Tommy, I need for you to put together a small group of members from your committee, Environment and Public Works Committee, come over and meet with me, and let's talk about not a infrastructure week, not about an infrastructure month. We want to talk about an infrastructure decade, maybe an infrastructure a decade, or an infrastructure century." He said, "Come on over." And I brought a couple of my colleagues, Shelley Capito and a couple of others, and we joined the president. And basically he said, I'm tired of Infrastructure Week. I'm tired of hearing about Infrastructure Month. We got to do this. We're going to do it for long haul and create a lot of jobs at the same time. Joining us that day was Vice President Harris. Joining us by Zoom was our Secretary of Transportation. I still call him Mayor Pete. But he said he wanted to have a bill to sign into law, an infrastructure bill to sign into law by the end of that year. And you know what? He signed it into law by the end of that year. We were all there to celebrate. A lot of you, how many were actually there? Raise your hand. Were actually there when the president signed that bill into law. One of the happiest days of my life. Leaving the meeting, though, 2-3 years ago, I said to my colleagues, my staff, I said, let's get going on this. And boy, we did. Today, we stand here with all of you to celebrate 2 years of this wonderful law. Largest investment in the nation's roads and bridges since the Eisenhower administration, and the largest ever investment in our nation's water infrastructure. As President Biden likes to say, this is not just an infrastructure week or month, this is an infrastructure decade. And today, we got major infrastructure projects underway in the states of all of us that are standing up here, states of all the men and women we serve with, and the states that all of you are from as well. I'm also proud that we included the first ever climate title in a highway bill as part of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. And just yesterday, the Biden administration released, as you may have heard, the 5th National Climate Assessment, which underscored the urgency of addressing the threat of climate change. The cars, the trucks, the vans we drive make up the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in our country. Mobile source about 30% of those greenhouse gases. And thanks to this law, we're now doing something about it, including building a national network of EV chargers. How many here drive EV electric vehicles? Anybody? Me. All right. They are fun. For those who, and if you don't have one, you'll just love driving. They're just like they're a hoot. They're a kick. But the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law is also delivering clean water to more households across our nation, expanding access to affordable high-speed internet, cleaning up legacy pollution, and so much more. I oftentimes say, as my colleagues will tell you, bipartisan solutions are lasting solutions, and I'm confident that the bipartisan infrastructure law is built to last. With that, I want to turn the podium over to our next speaker, a colleague from the great state, a big state, New Hampshire. And like me, a recovering governor, not fully recovered, but we're having a great time working together, and this is one of the things that we're working on. We're delighted to be here with all of you. Maggie May. Whoa. Maggie, put your hands together. Maggie Hassan.
Thank you very much.
All right, baby.
All right. Well, thanks, Tom Carper, for your remarks and for your leadership. Thanks to all of my colleagues and our partners who are here today. This is a really important day to be celebrating this moment, to really talk about the difference that the bipartisan infrastructure law has made for our country. I will talk, of course, about the difference it has made for my wonderful state, the granite state of New Hampshire. We're a really rural state. And for years, I have heard from Granite Staters about the difference 21st century infrastructure could make in our state. Thanks to their determined advocacy and the advocacy of everyday Americans all across our country, we got this done. We delivered bipartisan 21st century infrastructure to the people of our country. So in addition to expanding access to electric buses, as my colleagues have discussed, here are just some of the ways the law is already having an impact in my state. We are rebuilding crumbling roads and bridges all across New Hampshire. We are giving New Hampshire critical resources to ensure that all families have access to clean drinking water. Those efforts include projects that are replacing lead water lines in cities like Hanover, New Hampshire, and Claremont, New Hampshire. These resources are helping us treat PFAS contamination in communities all across our state, those forever chemicals that have seeped into wells and water systems in some places. This infrastructure bill is allowing our state to expand access to affordable high-speed internet. You know, the whole north part of our state used to be an industrial, a paper mill economy. And of course, as paper mills have closed or limited their production, we have seen a real need for economic development in the North Country, but we couldn't get the high-speed internet infrastructure we needed to make that a reality. Now we can. And we just announced $12 million to build high-speed internet infrastructure in rural Grafton County. Make no mistake, the bipartisan infrastructure law is making a tangible difference in the lives of people all across our country, and the impact of the law is just going to continue to grow. The ripple effect is going to continue to be felt. This law is one of the most important steps that we have taken in several generations to strengthen our economy and invest in our future. The bipartisan infrastructure law also demonstrates what we can do when we come together and work together as a democracy. This really is the power of democracy at work, because this is what happens when elected officials hold themselves accountable to their constituents, reach across the aisle, and deliver on the things that their constituents agree about, agree that they want to invest in, agree on what a difference it will make. We are only here today because Americans from all walks of life urged leaders from both parties to come together and pass this law. That is the power of democracy, when people are free to make their voices heard, and when we stand united as Americans, we have the capacity to accomplish really, really great things. And with that, I will turn it over to my great colleague from Colorado, another former governor, John Hickenlooper.
All right, guys.
All right.
Yes, yeah, I know.
I see a trend. I'm going to take a slightly different tack. Before I do that, I want to thank Senator Stabenow and Senator Schumer for their leadership in making sure this got done, because it sounds easy in retrospect, but it certainly wasn't easy when it was happening. We're here because we believe in the common good, and this is something that distinguishes democracies all over the world, that we are making investments for everybody, for all our communities, on a objective, bipartisan level or multi-partisan level. That's what distinguishes democracies. And all over the world, millions of people thousands of organizations are fighting to either create a democracy or retain their democracy, and they look to us to do things like the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, which demonstrates what democracies are all about, when people can come together with different opinions, find compromises, and then make meaningful investments in things that benefit the common good. In Colorado, we've got $2.6 billion for roads. That's a major project in almost every county in Colorado. We've got 64 counties in Colorado. There are $60 million for orphan wells. That's over 700 wells that will be plugged efficiently that had been left behind. And after the minerals were extracted, the companies claimed bankruptcy or some fiscal inability to properly plug them. And now they've been spewing all these years methane and violent, harmful emissions. Now they're going to get plugged. A couple of people have already talked about electric vehicles and why that's so important. But it's all these infrastructure investments. There's an investment now for the first time to go and address one of the largest water projects that's been untended for almost 5 decades. The Arkansas Valley Conduit was actually envisioned by President John Kennedy back when he came out and gave a speech in Colorado in 1962. We're finally going to finish that after all these years. Outside Denver, there's Floyd Hill. A lot of people don't know where that is, but it's one of the biggest processes of obstruction that creates traffic jams on a daily basis. We're now going to finally be able to, by a partnership with the federal government and these investments in the state, we're going to be able to address this. And as we do this in Colorado, as we do this all across America, democracies around the world are seeing this as a model they can celebrate and use it to keep pushing and expanding the strength of their democracy and their protecting their freedoms. So I will now turn it over to one of my great friends who probably has done more good stuff than all of us governors put together, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I am so pleased to stand with my colleagues, most importantly with our moms, Clean Air Force. Thank you for our advocacy. With our superintendents, thank you. I know in Nevada, I work regularly with both groups. Let me say this. I'm going to bring it down to a level. I just got off the campaign trail. Nevadans, what they care about. I don't care what party you come from. I don't care your background. I don't care if you're in urban or rural area. What they want to make sure is that we are here working together in a meaningful way that brings investments that benefit them, that enhances their lives and their quality of life. That's the bipartisan infrastructure package. It is such an easy thing to talk about in my state because we are doing incredible things. The electric vehicle bus you have behind here, it is a game changer for Nevada. In southern Nevada, my hometown, there's going to be 25 new clean buses. Now, why is this important? Because I remember riding on these buses in Nevada going through the public school system and think now we're finally changing them. Don't look how old I am, but it's taken some time. And this is crazy. This is why we need to be making those changes. It's an exciting time. You know, I was with our regional transportation commissions, both north and south. We just took off the line in northern Nevada one of our diesel buses. Now we have clean transit buses, public transit buses in the state of Nevada, thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure package. But here's one thing I want to talk about that has been a game changer for the state of Nevada. What we have done in this clean energy, this bipartisan infrastructure, is really invest in clean energy. And clean energy jobs are booming in the state of Nevada. In Nevada, we have good paying clean energy jobs, and these are union jobs. And it's benefited our economy. Let me just say, that's why it was important for me to strengthen our critical mineral supply chain. Nevada, if you don't know, has enough lithium to power the world, which is key for these electric batteries. And so in the infrastructure bill, it was important for me that we continue to support battery manufacturing and recycling right here in the United States. That's happening in Nevada right now. We have a program, American Battery Technology. That's just one of many. And that company is in Tonopah, Nevada. Our urban and rural areas in Nevada are benefiting from this bipartisan infrastructure package. We have to keep going. We have to continue to make these meaningful investments that are long term. And then finally, let me just say this. broadband is key for so many of our communities. This bipartisan infrastructure package has brought connectivity to our underserved communities in our urban areas as well as our rural areas. Think about it. It's not just now that we are connecting people to the internet. They are now accessing e-education, telehealth, telemedicine, e-learning, all of the above, where we are literally at times, these communities are missing out on those opportunities. But we are now connecting them thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure package. And then finally, I can't step away without saying this. In a bipartisan way, the western states, we know we are dealing with water, drought issues. We are dealing with hotter and longer wildfire seasons. In this bipartisan infrastructure package, we invested in more projects to address the wildfires in the West, along with making sure that we are addressing not just ensuring clean, healthy water to drink, but that we have drinking water because of the drought. That is in this bipartisan infrastructure package. Those projects are happening right now in the West, and it is a great, great thing to see. But I know this is what Nevadans want. This is what Americans are looking for. When we come to Washington, it is working in a bipartisan way to make sure we're looking out for their best interests. The bipartisan infrastructure package that the president signed and into legislation and also is now implementing across the country is key for all of our communities. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you so much. And now we're going to hear from two special guests joining us today that have been very much involved and supportive of what's happening. We'll hear first from Kevin McGowan, who's superintendent of the Brighton Central School District in Rochester, New York, as Senator Schumer said, and he is this year's National Superintendent of the Year. So thank you so much for being here. All right.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to, of course, Senator Stabenow for hosting, and Senators Carper, Hassan, Hickenlooper, and Cortez Masto. I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and of course to our home state senator, Senator Schumer, with great relationships in our district and throughout our state, such a fierce advocate for this work. As mentioned, I'm the superintendent of the Brighton Central School District in Rochester, New York. And again, thank you for having me here and for all that our senators have done for this bipartisan infrastructure law. It will help so many districts like ours across the country as we continue to work to make a safer and more sustainable environment for our students and for their future. I also want to thank First Student, the transportation provider for our schools and the ones who arranged to have the electric bus manufactured by IC Bus here today right behind us. First Student is helping to electrify buses all over the country at an incredible rate, something I hope our district will soon be able to do thanks to resources from the bipartisan infrastructure law. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here representing superintendents across the country who want to do right by our students, our parents, and our communities. Our priority is always to give students the safest possible way to get to and from school every day so they show up ready to learn. That means finding ways to make buses better, healthier, and safer. Electric buses are cleaner. They produce no exhaust. Electric buses are quieter. Creates a healthier environment for our kids to travel, of course. This means they can hear instructions from drivers, they can chat with their friends. It's better for their hearing and their health overall. The buses also reduce noise pollution in neighborhoods. I'm in one of those neighborhoods right by our schools. My kids come home on those buses, have come home on those buses. Our school-age child has our last in the system was on those buses all of the time. And you can hear them coming through the neighborhood. This provides us an opportunity to not have that noise pollution in neighborhoods. And they are becoming a reality in school districts across the country. This infrastructure law, the bipartisan infrastructure law, made $5 billion available in funding, of course, for the Clean School Bus program. And this level of investment is absolutely essential. Districts like mine can take advantage of these funds. Without it, electric buses and their benefits would be out of reach for our communities. We simply don't have the resources to do this on our own. It's a game changer for American students. It's through this kind of collaboration among school district transportation providers and these leaders behind me in Congress that we are able to achieve our goals. Our students deserve a cleaner, more sustainable future. They also deserve a safer and healthier present. The bipartisan infrastructure law is making this a reality in school districts across the country. The work continues, and myself, along with superintendents across the country, truly appreciate the investments that keep the wheels on the bus moving forward. Now, I should have known that this may have come up earlier from Senator Schumer, but along the song theme that we heard earlier, we sometimes sing a song as well. And I will spare you my rendition, but I will say when the wheels on the bus go round and round, round and round, we are very excited that they will do so in a quieter, safer, more healthy manner, carrying the students of today, but the leaders that will stand behind and work behind us of tomorrow into a far better future thanks to this funding. Thank you for having me here, and thank you to the senators for their work.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. That's great. That is wonderful. And certainly, last but not least, by any means, we're going to hear from Almeda Cooper, who is part of Moms for Clean Air's Community Health Equity Program. Moms for the Clean Air Force is a wonderful organization that's been with us every step of the way as we're tackling the climate crisis. Almeda spent 30 years as an executive attorney and advocate for organizations focused on healthcare, health equity, and women and girls, and we are so pleased and proud of her leadership. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. All right.
Good morning. I'm Almeda Cooper, and I'm the National Manager for Health Equity for Moms Clean Air Force. Moms is a national organization of 1.5 million moms, dads, and caregivers, and we're united in protecting children's health from the twin threats of air pollution and climate change. On this date 2 years ago, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law was signed by President Biden, and I'm excited to be here today with the senators to celebrate the second anniversary of this landmark legislation, also known as BILL, or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. It's hard to believe that just 2 years ago, that Moms Clean Air Force was meeting with key staff and committee members to push for the inclusion of strong safeguards for children's health, and then drafting op-eds, hosting events, and meeting over 200 meetings to urge them to vote yes and to vote for our children's future. We salute the leadership of the climate champions who have been standing here today for their support in passing this law, which contains historic investments that will increase clean transportation, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and advance environmental justice, among many other benefits. One of the benefits that is especially meaningful to us at Moms Clean Air Force is the $5 billion investment in clean school buses. Every day, 25 million children ride a bus to and from school in nearly 500,000 school buses. Almost all of these buses are currently powered by fossil fuels, by diesel engines which spew cancer-causing, climate-warming pollution from their tailpipes and into the air our children breathe. At Moms Clean Air Force, we believe that our children, our bus drivers, our communities deserve better. I vividly remember putting my daughter Elise on that iconic yellow school bus when she first went to kindergarten, and I was excited, she was excited. She had a little pin on her shirt that I put with her name and her teacher's name so she would get to the right place. But what I didn't know is that despite all that care, that the pollution from that bus was actually a health risk for my daughter and for her friends and for their bus driver. That pollution could interfere with their brain development and their hearing and their learning, and that's why we need electric school buses. Electric school buses are changing real lives and communities. Let me give you 3 examples of how funding from BILL is providing transformative experiences in school districts. First, Carmen Cortez, one of our members in nearby Montgomery County, Maryland, who is an electric school bus driver who in just 2 years is now training other electric school bus drivers in a program that went from 1 bus to 85. She's grateful to be driving a bus that won't trigger asthma attacks in her children that are riding the bus. Or take Mario Ventura in West Phoenix, Arizona. He serves as the Isaac School District Superintendent, a predominantly Latino school district in the crosshairs of 2 major highways. Mario's district received more than $2 million for electric school buses in an area plagued by air quality, He's relieved that his district's new buses will contribute 0 tailpipe pollution. Or take Kathleen Blust, a math teacher in the rural town of Pellston in northern Michigan, where her school is replacing almost an entire fleet with electric school buses. Pellston is going all in on green energy projects, including solar-paneled public schools and electric school buses, with $1.6 million awarded for electric school buses. And by the way, Michigan is leading the West in electrification, Senator Stabenow. You'll be pleased to know your state ranks second nationally, with the 25 districts receiving funds from the Clean School Bus Program's first round of rebates. Carmen, Mario, and Kathleen remind us that this funding is providing family-supporting jobs, cleaner air, and hope for a better, more sustainable tomorrow, one electric school bus at a time. And although there is more work to be done, Moms Clean Air Force is committed to achieving the transition to an all-electric school bus fleet. Every child deserves a clean ride to school, and thanks to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, we're now $5 billion closer to this goal. In closing, I commend the hard work of the champions who have been out here today with me this morning. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Law is a critical investment in our future, and there is simply nothing more important than investing in the health of our children and their future. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Almia. That was wonderful. Wow, you can hear the passion in all of us. This is a pretty big deal here that has been happening. We're very excited about the future and what this means. We're still implementing all of the funding, and it bodes well for rebuilding America in a cleaner way, with wonderful, good-paying jobs to go along with it, and better health for our children as well and our families. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If not, thanks very much for joining us.